The Harleys of the Desert Vipers Motorcycle Club announced their arrival with a thunderous roar. Rattling the windows of Murphy's Roadhouse just after 8 p.m., every patron in the small roadside bar tensed up. This wasn't their first visit to establishments along the highway, and their reputation built on arson and intimidation preceded them like a dark cloud. Alina Rodriguez, 35, watched them enter while methodically folding napkins at the service. Stationer movements were precise and economical. Jake, the 25-year-old bartender, immediately started sweating when he saw the skull patches on their leather vests. "That's them," he whispered to Alina. "They're the ones who burned down Rossetti's place." She simply nodded, continuing to fold napkins into perfect triangles, each one identical to the last. Jake had noticed this about Alina in the 6 months she'd worked at Murphy's. Her every action, from wiping down tables in perfect grid patterns to arranging condiments with geometric accuracy, had an almost military precision. Viper Jackson made his entrance like a conquering king, all 6'3" of him swaggering through the door. The snake tattoo that gave him his nickname coiled around his thick neck, and his shaved head gleamed under the bar's amber lights. His 9 companions spread out behind him in what Alina quietly noted was a tactically sound dispersal pattern, covering exits and establishing dominance. "Business and disrespective ninfolks," Viper announced, his voice carrying a false friendliness that preceded violence. "Don't mind us. We're just here for a friendly drink and a little business discussion." The regulars, mostly veterans from the nearby base, shifted uncomfortably. Sheriff Tom Bradley, a grizzled 55-year-old, set his coffee cup down slowly, his weathered hand moving. To rest near his hip, Alina approached their table, her eyes downcast and her voice soft. "What can I get you, gentlemen?" The trouble sparked when a wiry biker with meth-rotted teeth slapped her backside as she walked past. "How about you start with a smile, sweetheart? You look like someone died." She didn't react, instead stepping out of reach with a fluid, almost accidental-looking movement. Alina continued to take their orders without acknowledging the assault. Viper Jackson's attention settled on her like a physical weight. "Hey, server girl, where's Murphy? We need to discuss some business. Mr. Murphy is in Phoenix for the week." Alina replied quietly, not meeting his eyes. "I'm just covering shifts. Well, then you'll have to relay a message for us," Viper said, his massive frame casting a shadow over her. He pulled out a lighter, flicking it open and closed.
"The desert?"
"Vipers are offering protection services to this fine establishment. $5,000 a month, and we guarantee nothing bad happens. Those that refuse, well, accidents happen. Electrical fires, gas leaks, tragic stuff." "I'll let him know you stopped by," Alina said softly, continuing to wipe the already clean table. Her calm infuriated him. "I don't think you understand, sweetheart. This is a business requirement." He reached out and wrapped his meaty fingers around her upper arm, squeezing hard. The moment of truth. Sheriff Bradley stood up, his voice carrying the snap of authority. "I'm going to have to ask you to take your hand off the lady," Viper laughed. "And what are you going to do about it, old man? You're off duty, out of your jurisdiction, and outnumbered." The air in Murphy's grew thick with the promise of violence. Alina remained perfectly still, her breathing controlled, her eyes steady. Sheriff Bradley, with his combat experience, saw the shift in her weight, the subtle positioning of her hands. She was a coiled spring. Viper yanked her closer. "You think? You're better than us. Maybe I need to remind you of your place." He grabbed the front of her shirt, bunching the fabric in his fist. "I can't do that," Alina said simply. The shirt tore with a shocking final sound. The white cotton parted from collar to mid-chest, revealing the black tank top underneath. But it was what the tank top revealed that changed everything. The silence was absolute. Even the jukebox seemed to pause. Across Alina's back, visible through the thin fabric, was a work of art that told a story of service and sacrifice. The eagle, globe, and anchor of the United States Marine Corps spread majestically across her shoulder blades. Below it, in bold letters, was her designation: First Force Recon. Gunny E. Rodriguez. Surrounding the tattoo were scars, a puckered bullet wound, shrapnel marks, and a long, jagged blade wound. Viper Jackson stood frozen, his hand still clutching the torn fabric. The predatory confidence drained from the bikers' faces. "Force Recon," Sheriff Bradley breathed. Holy hell, Elena's bearing had changed. She hadn't taken a fighting stance, but her shoulders squared, her chin lifted, and her voice, when she finally spoke, had lost all its softness. "Mr. Jackson," she said, using his real name, which she shouldn't have known, "I believe you owe me an apology for destroying my property." Viper's face cycled through confusion, disbelief, and finally, a dawning realization that he had made a catastrophic error. He released the torn fabric, which fluttered to the floor, like a surrender flag. "How do you know my name?" "He, Stammered. Stephen Jackson," she said calmly, turning to give everyone a full view of her back. "Dishonorably discharged from the army. Founded the Desert Vipers. Currently wanted for questioning in 4 arson cases. I make it my business to know who's threatening my area of operation." A quiet warrior from a corner booth. A grizzled man in his 60s slowly stood up. It was Colonel Mike Harrison, a retired Medal of Honor recipient. "Gunny Rodriguez," he said, his voice carrying the snap of command. "Fallujah, 2004. Operation Phantom Fury." "I remember you." Elena's stance shifted slightly, an unconscious response. To a superior officer, the bikers were backing toward the door now, their formation completely broken. Their path was blocked by 5 men who had quietly repositioned themselves, each with the unmistakable bearing of a combat veteran, leaving so soon. One asked, "But you haven't apologized to the lady yet." Viper's face flushed. "We didn't know she was known." What? Elena stepped forward. "That I'd bled for this country, or just that I could hurt you in ways you can't even imagine." "All of the above," Viper admitted, his voice small. "Kneel." The command cracked like a whip. Viper dropped to his knees, his conscious mind unable to process the instinct of obedience. "You assaulted me, destroyed my property, and threatened my colleagues," Elena said calmly. "In some parts of the world I've operated in, you'd already be dead. Here, you're going to apologize properly and spread the word that this entire county is off limits. Do you understand?" Viper's apology was stuttering but sincere, delivered on his knees. As he scrambled to his feet to leave, he turned back. Why hide it? Why pretend to be just a server? Elena picked up her torn shirt, folding it with the same precision she'd shown with the napkins. "Because, Mr. Jackson, real warriors don't need to advertise. We don't wear our strength on the outside. We carry it quietly and use it only when necessary. You took my peace from me tonight." The new mission the bikers left without another word. The bar was quiet for a long moment. Then Colonel Harrison spoke. "With your record, you could be doing anything." "I've done my time being extraordinary," Elena said, pulling out a spare shirt. "I've got a box of medals in a storage unit and nightmares that wake me up every night. I came here because nobody knew who I was, because I could pour coffee for construction workers and not have them look at me with that mix of awe and pity and fear. But they ran you out," said Maria Santos, a Navy corpsman who had been attached to Marine units. "No," Elena said, buttoning the new shirt. "They reminded me of something I'd almost forgotten. Peace isn't something you find by hiding. It's something you create by standing your ground." Over the next few weeks, Murphy's Roadhouse transformed into an unofficial veterans gathering place. Elena still wore her simple server's uniform, but she no longer hunched her shoulders. She moved with the quiet confidence of someone with nothing left to prove and nothing left to hide. When Jake, the bartender, asked if she regretted her cover being blown, Elena considered it. "You know what? No. I've been hiding for 3 years, pretending that part of me didn't exist, but it does. Maybe it's time to stop running from it. This is my post now, Jake, and Marines don't abandon their posts."